We have this black bin bag full of old clothes. It's nice glasses there, mate.
Cheers.
Safe to say I'm never gonna wear most of this shit ever again. I've had this t-shirt since I was 15 and it still fits. Like when I got it, it wasn't even too big for me. I'll show you a photo, I used to wear it all the time. And look, I mean it needs a bit of an iron. That's weird. Last week's coffee was big and pretty tasty. This week's coffee is smaller, there's actually less fluid, but my god, the flavour. I emailed you guys last night, those of you who are on my awesome email list, some questions. I said I'm doing Coffee Q&A episode 2. I said that in episode 1 it's going to be a weekly thing, and here I am next week, smashing it out. And your questions were awesome this week. Pretty much all of them are from the email list. I think one of them is from YouTube. So we got a question from Worm Studio. If you could only film from one angle, what would it be? Damn! Off the top of my head, I think it would be close-ups. So I know a lot of people would say I just do wide angles to try and get as much in as I can. But I think doing the opposite of that and trying to tell a story and trying to communicate your message through having a really limited creative space of a close-up would be an amazing kind of creative exercise, and you could do some really cool stuff in trying to kind of communicate everything you want to, but within a really tight close-up. And having the close-ups is a really good way to communicate, as I've said before, to communicate the sensual experience of being there. So what does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it smell like? You can really communicate those things through having close-ups of individual aspects of your trip, your adventure or whatever. This is similar to having a time limit. If you put limits on yourself, you often get more creative. And having the time limit on Instagram of 15 seconds when you've got to make those videos, even if you have so much footage, to be able to put it down into those 15 seconds, you have to get really creative and fast in your edit to be able to put as much in there as you can. So having these limits is often actually a good exercise. So awesome question, man. We got another question from the same guy. Do you have to cut your footage to every beat? No, this is something I go into a lot in editing mastering my program. And I talk about how you don't need to cut to every beat, because cutting to every beat in the track is great, and it's a great kind of beginner's exercise to start getting your films looking a bit more snappy. But if you have a track that has loads of different elements in it, loads of different sounds, loads of different textures, then you can start playing with the video to kind of reflect those textures. And that's when things get really interesting and super engaging as well, is when you can kind of match even the movement in your shot or what's going on in the shot with what's going on in the music and the sounds. That's when the music and the video start playing off each other like that, you know you've hit a sweet spot. And he's also got, why do all travel videos look the same? How can you think about starting to make a new engaging format? That is the sort of question I love, man. And having a think about how you can do things differently is what can really set you apart. So immediate ideas, again, it relates back to the close-up thing. You know, how can you make a new travel video format? Maybe, just as an idea off the top of my head, if you want your channel to kind of be consistent, try and give yourself that limitation of the close-up. So try and communicate a travel experience just through the close-ups. And that would be an amazing, engaging new format. If we think slightly less abstractly, we could come up with ideas. I know my buddy Sven, shout out to Sven, go and check out his channel, Sven Lifestyle, awesome travel channel. He's had the idea recently of, he had a whole load of footage from his Southeast Asia trip, but what he did is he didn't vlog at the time, so he wasn't really talking to the camera. So he talked like this to the camera, telling a story, and then he overlaid all of his footage exactly what's going on in his video, which is really cool. So that could be a new engaging format. I'm actually thinking of doing a video in this style, about a trip I did to Bolivia, where I actually found the statue of my great grandfather-in-law, I believe he was. And I've got footage from it, but I just didn't vlog it. So if I tell the story on camera, yeah, you guys let me know. Is that something you'd be interested in? We've got a question from Chris. When you shoot, how much of your footage is pre-planned versus spontaneous? So for example, you mentioned the France video in your question. None of that was pre-planned at all. That was all completely spontaneous. I had no idea about what sort of video I was going to make, but I did kind of know the fundamentals of what was going on in terms of filmmaking technique in my mind. So that was completely spontaneous. Some of the stuff, like a video I'm doing tomorrow with my good friends George Benson and Simon Scholes, we're doing a video that is going to be pre-planned, and it's kind of like an adventure, a set of 7 tasks that we're going to kind of do. So it's a different format. In travel videos, I do advise planning, because if you're going to do a video, such as I've seen a lot of people doing like a 360-degree selfie video, those do need pre-planning, because if you do this, you have to basically plan it to do this in different environments. This is actually really fun. You have to do this in different environments and plan it out to be able to get the final result. If you want to do specific techniques like that, you kind of do want to pre-plan it. But it depends ultimately on your goal. It depends, do you want to capture purely your memories and what happens? Then you don't have to plan too much. If you want to make some sort of creative masterpiece, then it is much more advisable to plan out your stuff. Chris also asks, so when you do make a travel video and you've edited it, what do you do with the original footage? Do you keep it? Do you archive it? Do you delete it? What do you do? I keep all of it. I don't really know why. It's kind of just in case. I also like to very occasionally go through old footage and kind of look at it raw, uncut, and think, oh, that was what I was like then, or that was what these people or the place was really kind of like, just shaky camera footage, whatever, just for my own memories. Also, if you're going to make some sort of highlight reel at the end of the year, it's always a good idea to keep all of your footage so you can actually have that creative freedom of the whole clips to play with when you're making the highlight reel. So keep that in mind as well. It's completely up to you. I keep everything. Javier asks, how do you choose music for your video? This is something I've gone kind of in depth a little bit on in the video. I believe it's how to make Jay Alvarrez style videos. And I go in a lot about how can I kind of choose the music there. Again, I've got tutorials on this in my editing mastery program, but as a kind of brief overview, a lot of the time I'll make half of the video. I'll film for a day. Say I'm doing a week trip somewhere. I'll film for the first day, put everything in the editing program, and kind of see what the sort of general vibe is. I'll look at a few different tracks, see how they match. Then I'll usually pick a track. So I'll kind of edit like whilst I'm still in the week. And I'll edit a little bit, maybe one evening, and then I'll pick a track, and then I'll think, okay, great, so this track has a chorus here, a slow bit here, and the end looks like this. And then I'll imagine, how can I make my trip and film it in a way that matches up to the chorus? So is there going to be like a huge epic event in the trip that I can put to the chorus? And then I start kind of building it from there. Generally, that's what's worked best for me. Okay, Fraser asks, hey, what is the best thing to do to get inspiration? I can't think of any new ideas to create. Wow. Really cool question, Fraser. To be honest, some of the inspiration that I get comes from really weird places. For example, I went to a portrait gallery a couple of weeks ago in London. It was a Goya exhibition, and it was just these random paintings that a guy did a few hundred years ago. And these, you wouldn't think that this would inspire like a lifestyle travel adventure film, but just by observing somebody who was so good at what they do, and somebody who dedicated their life to this creative practice of painting portraits and creating really meaningful works of art. Being in that museum, in that space, was really kind of stimulating to my brain, and I started thinking about different ideas that I could make videos from. And so you can get inspiration from heaps of different places. Another thing, as well as listening to music, therefore, is to go and find somebody who is an absolute master of their craft, whatever it is, and just spend some time reading or absorbing or looking at their work. Go to museums, whatever, just trying to get out of your everyday environment, and ideas will start coming to you. We got another question. Not sure if this is too late, but it's worth a try. What camera equipment do you take on board with you on an aeroplane? So can you take a tripod and lithium batteries and stuff? I take pretty much all of my camera equipment on the plane with me because I don't want it getting battered in the hold luggage. I put my tripod in the hold luggage and sometimes my glide cam, but everything else I take with me on my backpack. A question about how to kind of get the Jay Alvarrez look in his newest video, Home, which is really good. You guys should check that out if you haven't seen it. The questionnaire, I haven't got his name here unfortunately, but basically he's wondering how to color grade his GoPro footage, and he wants it to be really vibrant and look like Jay Alvarez's stuff. With color grading, with ProTune, ProTune seems to take out a lot of saturation and it makes the contrast a lot more flat. So to add that back in, you want to basically boost the saturation and boost up the contrast. Those are the things that really kind of get it back to that amazing, colourful kind of vibe of your footage. And then from there, because you did film it in Pro Tune, you can play with the colours a lot more. Okay, Hugo is wondering, he really likes the choice of sound and colour for the France video. Thank you. That song choice was, and that video, I wasn't actually going to release it because it's such a kind of chill video. It's such a kind of family video. It's kind of like going away from the stuff I was producing, like with the girls, the lifestyle, the party and all that stuff. But I'm glad I did release it because it's got such a good reaction. And yeah, that song is kind of, I was listening to that a lot when I was in the France trip. And it just seemed to work with the footage. I don't know if it was a subconscious thing or not. But Hugo says, as a Brazilian guy, I wanted to know your opinion about my country. What are your thoughts about Brazil? And a bonus question, how do you compare yourself with DevinSuperTramp? What are the main differences and similarities? Wow, thanks Hugo. That's amazing. So thoughts about Brazil first. I love Brazil, especially Rio de Janeiro, and surprisingly Sao Paulo a lot. And I say surprisingly, it's just because it's not like a tourism central place. It hasn't got the amazing mountains and beaches. But Sao Paulo, we were staying with a friend. I don't know if you're watching this, Eric, but huge shout out to Eric. He hosted us for a week, and just by staying in a local's house and having them show you around the city was absolutely amazing. Other than that, yeah, Rio is an incredible place. I absolutely love Rio. The main things about Brazil in general is just the atmosphere. Like, I don't know if it's me being overly nostalgic, but whenever I think back to it, just always on the streets there's just music, and there's kind of like this vibe of just everyone is just so chilled out, so excited, so happy, carefree. I know there's a lot of poverty and stuff in Brazil as well, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to affect people as much. Maybe it's because it's sunny all the time, but I love Brazil, and I definitely feel like I've got some sort of unfinished business, especially with Rio de Janeiro. So I'm going to go back there at some point for sure. And the DevinSuperTramp thing, he's an amazing filmmaker. What he does is get a bunch of people and just put them in a situation where they're going to have the best time ever, and just captures it. Like, he's an absolute hustler. He do this week in, week out, filming these people, and you can tell he's really passionate about what he does, and he works super hard. And it's kind of an interesting contrast there between his work, like the fun vibes, the carefree adventure, let's just, fuck it, life's awesome, let's just go out. But actually his dedication and motivation and goals, that you can tell that the amount of work that he puts in, they're actually two very different things, and a lot of people don't realize that. But if you really want like similarities and differences, I think his stuff is more set up, so he'll set up a situation, film that, whilst mine is more about kind of what happens in my life at that time. Okay, Alina again. What's up, Alina? Where will you travel this year? And I'm excited to see your new stuff you're going to film. So, planning to go back to Barcelona for a couple of months. I'm actually going to make a video there that is, like I said earlier, super creative and really, really putting everything into it. The video that I made from Barcelona before was actually just, I went out on a few different days and filmed some clips just for kind of Instagram footage, just little Instagram videos. And I thought, I've got so much footage, let's make a whole video out of it. So I didn't really plan it. What I want to do this time is go back there and make something out of this world that's I actually put a lot of effort to and is really planned out. So I can't wait to share that with you guys. Other places at the moment, me and a friend have got vague plans to go to Helsinki at some point. And also I'm going to be in Las Vegas for a week in kind of April, May, June sort of time. So that's going to be amazing as well. Final question from Fred. What is the best way to stabilize videos? My videos are always very shaky. How did I manage the kind of stabilized bits at the beginning of the South of France video? So this is a technique that I go really in depth into in the travel video bootcamp, because I actually include a whole tutorial of editing mastery about stabilizing footage, which is like a 15-minute in-depth tutorial within the travel video bootcamp as a bonus. So if you really want to find that out, go and check out the travel video bootcamp, $7. Highly recommend it. But in terms of stabilization, I actually stabilize it in post, so I don't use a drone. Some of it I do on my glide cam, some of it I do with a very special technique that I cannot reveal to you, and then I stabilize it in my editing program in post to get that sort of look without any drones, and you don't really even need a glide cam, which is amazing. So I've really enjoyed this episode of Coffee Q&A. Again, if you want your questions answered, join the email list in the link below, or if you're already on it, hit reply to one of my emails, send in an email, with your question, and it will be answered next week. So cheers guys, big shout out to you. I hope this has helped in some sort of way. And I've still got a little bit of cold, horrible coffee left. Get that down for the nice little caffeine boost. And I'll speak to you guys very soon with some exciting stuff coming this week.